Hello, welcome to Kletus Ray's Roadside Service. We're leaving the shop. We're leaving. We're out of here. It's the end of the day. It's 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock, we're out of here. We had a good time today. I didn't even know what I was doing this morning, and then I found out whenever I got here that I was supposed to go on confined space rescue team, which we've been doing off and on for the last few months, and I did it once for 4 hours. They didn't even get in the hole. We were just there walking around. So instead, I went out with a crew to a rail site. Had to make sure I had all my rail gear, my badges, my vest, my hard hat, my lace up boots, everything. And what we did, we just went over to the grass pad. They're high on grass, and we bought some new hay bales and some new hay ropes or whatever the fuck they're called. I don't know. It's just like a big tube full of hay. And I don't know. There's like this drain area, and they want to keep it. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But it was old hay bales and shit sitting in there, so we had to go over there and put up new fence, new hay bales, new ropage, hay ropage, hay snake tubage, whatever the fuck it's called. I don't know. It's called a dewaterer. I don't know. Don't even know what it is. But we did that, and it was pretty easy. But it only took 7 hours to do. We tried stretching it out. Like we were all on the same page. This job is not going to take very long if we have a can-do attitude about it. So let's sit in the truck for a while. Let's go over there, and let's not purposely, but we didn't get enough tube stuff or whatever the fuck it is. So we ended up having to go back to the grass pad and then back over there. We had to pick up all the old hay bales. Nothing exciting. And then we go back to the shop, and I failed again. I cheated again, guys. I was not supposed to cheat yet. Oh, I cheated over the weekend. You guys don't know this, but I cheated over the weekend. I had two, what are those things at McDonald's with the little pancake sausage biscuit thing? I had two of those little biscuits. What are they called? What are the fuck are they? McGriddles. I had two McGriddles, and then for lunch that day, I had some slices of pizza. But usually I'd eat an entire pizza, and I only ate 3 slices of it. So I think I did pretty good. But I tried not to cheat. Other than that, I was like, I talked about it. I think in the last episode, I was just like, I haven't cheated yet. I'm thinking about cheating. So I cheated a little bit. Don't fucking beat me up. Don't yell at me. I cheated just a little bit. But then today we were driving around, and they were like, "Hey, we're gonna go get lunch at Popeyes." And I'm like, "I can't eat Popeyes." They're like, "What are you talking about? It's chicken." I'm like, "I can't. It's all covered in bread. I'm not gonna eat Popeyes." They're like, "Oh, okay." And then later on, they're like, "Do you want to get food?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's stop at Burger King. I'll go in there and get me a couple of patties." And then we drove right past Burger King. They're like, "Oh, we forgot, but it'll be all right." I'm like, "What do you mean it'll be all right? You guys got to eat." But I did tell them earlier, whenever they were eating at Popeyes, I was like, "I don't really think I'm going to eat today." That was a lie. I wanted to eat. I just didn't want to eat Popeyes. I wanted to go get some burgers. But other than that, on the weekend, I had a really good time. Today's Monday, by the way. I don't think I exactly said that yet. Yeah. I worked on the truck a lot. Not a lot, actually. I only had about 6 hours worth of work into the truck. and most of that was me sitting around looking at it. But I wired it up. It's all wired. A lot of it's wired up. Not all of it, but some of it is wired up. And so now the push button start works. The gauges come on. The radio comes on. The alternator is plugged in, so that should be working. The temperature sensor is plugged in. It should work. The RPM signal is plugged in. I hope it works, but the truck, it's not running right now because I have the distributor cap ripped off of it. And then the oil pressure sensor, and I know that works. And it's pulling 60 psi. I'm pretty happy about that. Very, very happy with everything I did this weekend. I really wish I would have got up a little earlier and gotten outside a little bit earlier to work on it on Saturday and Sunday morning, but Saturday morning we had to go get the kids, so I just kind of hung out inside the house, just relaxing. I had a long week. I just wanted to relax. I knew I was going to be able to work on the truck later in the day. And then on Sunday, I did go out a little bit earlier, and I mowed, and then I came in, I had to cool off from the mowing. And then after I got cooled off, then I went out there, and then I'd come back in for lunch. The wife wanted a little bit of a break on her weekend also, so I went in there to watch kids for a little bit. My son went and got a haircut, and me and my daughter, we sat in the living room and played Trouble. She does not know how to play it very well. I was letting her win, and she was almost there, and then at the very last piece, her last move, I was like, "You won!" And she just like knocked the board over. I was like, "Well, you're supposed to move your piece all the way over there to win." But yeah, we had a lot of fun. A lot of hanging out with the kids, and got a lot of work done on the truck. I'm very happy with everything I got on there. Now, the only thing I'm really worried, I wanted to have a lot of slack in the wiring, but I don't like the way it looks. And I guess I could like get some bread ties or something, or electrical tape, but then every time I pull it out, I'm gonna have to undo that tie, which isn't a horrible thing. I don't know. Maybe I can get like some little Velcro straps. They got those little Velcro straps, I think, and I could use those. This guy was about to get over into my lane. Why? This lane is going to end. And I'm not even cutting everybody. I'm going to the left. Yeah, so I got everything wired up on the truck. That was a lot of fun. So I got everything wired up. I sat in my truck. I was messing with the radio, just because the radio flashes different colors, and I don't like that at all. Not a fan of all the colors going on the radio. I want it to be just white. I mean, it's already a problem that all my switches are fucking blue. Yeah, I don't need the radio fucking discoing the whole time. And apparently I'm just not reading the directions all the way or something, because there's got to be a way to make it stay on one light. Do I turn here? No, that's a one-way, I believe. That is not a one-way, but that is not my turn. I don't think. Take it down to this turn. Yes, this is where I need to be. So, yeah, I'm so excited about it now. So whenever I got the push button start and everything hooked up and everything, I had it hooked up very loosely, and that was not good. I had the starter, it was completely out, but it needs the engine to ground, and I didn't have it grounded very well, so it fucking sparked it was shooting sparks out. My neighbor was kind of worried about me. He's like, yeah, I looked over there right as you hit the starter, and it fucking was sparking everywhere. I was like, I know, I didn't have the fucking ground. I just had a ground wire just kind of set on where I think the ground is on the back. I looked up fucking diagrams and shit. I could not find a very clear diagram of what all those posts on the back of the starter are. I'm sure somebody could find it, but I didn't. I just typed in GM starter wiring diagram, and it was a bunch of crazy fucking shit. I'm like, no, that's not what I need. But once I got the starter mounted, and since most of the floor is missing on the passenger side, and it was kind of dark out, I didn't see any sparkage. So, pretty cool, pretty good. I'm glad. But I do need to go through and make sure all my grounds are done properly, because I have all the gauges are grounded, and that could be part of my problem. Is I have a decent ground, but it's not enough of a ground, because whenever I hit the starter switch, the gauges, because I turn the power on with the power switch, and then I hit the start button, and everything turns off for half a second. It just glitches and turns off, and it turns right back on, but then all my gauges got to run through their whole deal. Like they go through different colors, and all the gauges go up and down, and then it starts reading. And I'm like, I'd rather them just be on. You know, when I flip the switch on, they're on. Then it's good. But I don't know. But the more I'm looking at it, the more I'm thinking about having the radio also hooked up onto a separate little power switch. There's another little jumper switch for just the radio and just the. It'd be like an accessory switch, because I don't want, if I'm sitting in my truck and I'm waiting on something, I don't want the truck to be running, but I'd like to listen to the radio. I don't want the gauges to be on. I don't want the coil to be activated. I don't want the starter to be activated, or not the starter, the fucking alternator. Yeah, don't need all that shit to be pulling power from the battery, basically creating a draw. The only thing I want is the radio, and yeah, like the cigarette lighter. That's a bad place to pull over, bud. But yeah, that shouldn't be too hard to figure it out. And everything is ran the way I want it to be ran. I got to get my loom out, and then get my loom set. I shortened up my radiator hose, not my upper radiator hose, but the little one that goes over the top of the intake, which I don't think I even need that. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think I could just cap that off, because that normally would go to the heater core. That would normally go to the heater core, and then the other side of the heater core would go to the top of the intake. So there's no reason for me to even have that fucking radiator hose on there. I just cap it off, I believe. Unless it needs to be there if it's got pressure going through it. But it just goes from the top of the radiator where the cap is down to the top of the intake. And yeah, the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm like, I don't even need that. I just need the upper and lower radiator hose. I don't need the one that goes to the heater, because the heater core is gone. It's gone completely. And that would actually make everything look a lot cleaner if I got rid of it. But I shortened it up because it had, the way they did this, I don't know what the fuck they were thinking, but they have a valve It has two pieces of radiator hose come on off of each side, about 3 inches on each side, going to a coupler that goes to the existing, the longer, like foot-long length of radiator hose coming from the intake and coming from and that centerpiece. I was like, there's no need for that, so I took it off, and I just used one of those couplers, and so it's only got two, hose clamps on it. But yeah, now I'm thinking about it. I'm glad I got you guys. Now I'm thinking about it. I don't even need that. It runs over my fuel line and shit. I don't like where it is at all. I was thinking about bending my fuel line to make it a little bit more incognito. But yeah, if I don't need that radiator hose, I'm gonna get rid of it. So yeah, that'd be nice to cap it off. I don't know, would the caps look fucking shitty? Would it look fucking dumb? I might as well just leave that radiator hose on there. The more that I can pump into my radiator, the faster it'll come out. I don't know. I have no idea. Because the upper hose is the one that runs into the engine. The lower hose is pulled out, I think. I don't know. The water pump. The water pump. But yeah, I ran all my wires. Now, I forgot that the wire coming from the top of the distributor is the power wire, and then there's the gauge wire. There's only two wires, and then it's grounded itself to the engine. I forgot that they had very horribly ran a wire. They jumped off of the power wire, and that went to my electric choke on my carburetor. So I am going to need to run a separate wire to a separate power wire there. But I have plenty on my fuse box. Just that they have gigantic fuses in them, but I'll just run an inline fuse, I guess. They only have 4 small fused lines, and the other ones are gigantic. So I'm gonna have to get a little inline fuse, which isn't a horrible deal. Just run a little inline fuse to my, or I could just not and just let it burn up if it wants to. I don't know. There's no reason it should. But yeah, I don't know. I'll probably end up doing that, buying an inline fuse just to keep it safe. Yeah, shouldn't be a horrible deal. Now, yeah, since I took the distributor apart, or the cap, and I unplugged all the plug wires, so I got to go through and make sure I put those all back exactly where they need to be. I'm not pulling the distributor out of that thing. I don't want it to end up being 180 out and all that shit. There's ways to figure it out and do it right, but it runs. I know the engine runs, and it runs decent when it's started. I probably need to pull, if anything, I need to pull the carb off and go through the carb and clean out the float and clean out the barrel, and maybe poke my jets a little bit. Maybe even put in smaller jets. I'm not sure. No, I would, because I'm not for power. I mean, it'd be nice to have a decent amount of power, but as long as it sounds good, that's all I'm after. As long as it drives and it sounds good, the smaller the jet I can do with it still sounding decent, and get a little bit better gas mileage, I'll do it. Yeah, so I'm off work early today because it's only 3:20. I don't know what I'm gonna do today. I thought about playing video games, but I don't know. I'm pretty excited about the truck. Might call up my buddy, see if he's free. If he's not free, then I'll play video games. If he is free, then I'll have him come over and we'll go down there and mess with the truck. I think I'd like to start working on the grill. I'm not or the floorboards or something, because once I get the floorboards done, which really shouldn't take that much time since I'm just gonna bang it in there, just cut out the bad metal and then bang this in there and then call it good and rivet it in. And I've got some sort of caulking. I don't know. It's caulking, so it should do the job. Uh, and then just rivet that fucking thing in there. Because I want to lay down. I have some matting. I mean, it's not ready for that yet, but I'd like to get the floor in and then throw down some paint, and then eventually throw down some matting and some carpeting. So I guess one of the good things is there's no wires. Well, I will end up running wires to the back of the cab for like a dome light situation, but I might be able to just run them through the A-pillar instead of running them. Well, I don't know. I don't have a plastic A-pillar cover. It's just the windshield, I think. Now that I'm thinking about it, I have no idea. This fucking chew bottle stinks so bad. I have to grab me a new one. I keep smelling. I'm like, what is that fucking shit smell? It's this fucking chew bottle. Fucking reeks, dude. Oh, man. Very, very excited about the progress I got. I am still, even though once I get the loom out, I have the loom now. Once I get the loom out and start putting all the wires into the loom and clean it up a little bit, I'm going to feel much better about it. The wiring looking nightmare. And I thought I was going to be running all of my wires out of one spot in the dash, right next to the fuse box. I'm going to have a couple of wires, like 4 or 5 wires going through the dash, and I was going to kind of find some sort of a rubber grommet or something to put there. But the signal wires that need to go to the distributor, the oil pressure sensor, the temperature, RPM, I forget which ones I already said. RPM, oil, temp, those are my, and then fuel. Well, fuel is going to go to the back. So I only have 3 wires going through on the driver's side through the firewall. Because it's right there and everything lines up so close. So it's like, I'm not going to run a bunch of extra wire all the way over there I can hide it underneath the brake booster a little bit, especially once I get the loom in there, because they're all green wires. I decided to just keep all the signal wires the same, just green. Don't know why. I just happen to have enough long green wire to go through there. And there's plenty of slack in them too. So I don't know. And then, like I said, clean up the ground, because the ground goes right there to the steering column holder mount, which is welded and bolted, I believe, to the firewall and the dash. So I just need to make sure I ground the firewall to the frame, which isn't a problem. I also got underneath there whenever I was working on getting the starter wired up. I got all those wires. They're actually run through the little tube heat shield that was on there to keep it away from the exhaust, which is really nice. I got all the wires rotated down so they're going to be as far away from the heat as they can, really. And it looks good. It looks really good. I really want to get a new negative cable that's a little bit longer because the one that I have is really short from where I have it mounted. I could move the mount, but I like the negative cable going directly to the frame. That big, thick fucking cable. Just have it go directly to the frame, and then I can run like smaller. Like my headlights are gonna need a ground on both sides. And I just want to run a firewall ground, or not a firewall, a radiator support ground down to the frame, and I can jump it into the battery ground. Yeah, I ran out of. So I was double heat shrinking everything. So I was heat shrinking with the little solder heat shrink pieces to connect the wires, and then I was putting my own black heat shrink over it just to make it look a little bit better, because they look, I think they don't look good, but I ran out of the heat shrink that I need for those. So I have this whole little thing full of heat shrink, but they're all either too small or way too big, and they only shrink 50%, so they're way too big. They'd just be loose on theirs. I could run electrical tape on them, but I don't know. The adhesive from electrical tape, I just don't like it. I like the heat shrink tube. It's all one piece. It can't come undone. Now, some of the heat shrink I used fits really good on this wire, but it goes to a smaller wire, so the smaller wire, it's not like nicely on there, and I probably should have used some of that smaller heat shrink to put on there, but I'm not worried about it. Everything's double insulated, except for some of the connectors that I have, because I don't have like heat shrink connectors, which would be fucking sick. I'm sure they make them, I just don't have any. But everything is good. Everything's wired up, looking awesome. Just need to get the distributor wired up. I need to get a new overflow tank for the radiator. I need to get a new wiper wash bottle. But I'm thinking I can find something. It doesn't need to be, like an actual bottle or whatever. I can use whatever I can find. So I can find all kinds of stuff. Like the washer bottle, I'm thinking I'll just end up having a cap. It'll just be a cap with a hose, and I'll just snuck that down into the fucking wheel well there, and just leave a bottle there. So I'll never have to refill my washer fluid. I'll just replace the fucking bottle. Now my radiator overflow, it would be nice for it to be a clear bottle that can handle heat. But if I don't know, I was also kind of thinking glass. So I might be able to find some sort of a glass jar or something. That would be kind of cool, like with a big. I don't know if they make. Well, I'm sure they do make them, but just like a large mason jar, and just have make some cool little straps to hold it to the firewall, and like some rubber. I got a bunch of this rubber matting stuff. I could use some of that little rubber to kind of put it around the straps and make it look kind of cool. And then that's my overflow tank. But I don't know. That's just me being cheap. If I wanted to do it the right way, I'd just go to O'Reilly's and or Amazon and just buy some overflow tank that looks halfway decent. But they're all white. They're all like white colored, and it's like I'd like to be able to see inside of it. The ones that I got, they're all faded and old as fuck. A newer one, you'll be able to see the green liquid in there, which after removing that radiator hose, I'm going to need to flush because it's all brown. It's all brown fucking water. So I'll need to definitely get that fucking fixed up. get the truck fired up, get some fuel in the tank or something, and but yeah, I guess I could always. I have a bucket of fuel, and it's been a very annoying bucket of fuel because it does not pour out very well at all, and I don't have a big fucking funnel to catch it all. So like when I'm trying to fill up my lawnmower, I'm spilling shit fucking everywhere. So I'd like to, maybe I'll just, whenever I'm doing the fuel lines, I'll just snip off the fuel line since I'm not going to use that flexible fuel line. I'll just take that fuel line off and stick it in the bucket because it's got a pump on the fucking engine, and just use that, and then I'll have a few gallons of gas in that bucket. One of the buckets I cut a hole in the lid, thinking it'd be easier to pour. No, it's not easier to pour at all. It was worse. But I can shove a fuel line in there, and I can just use this bucket of fuel for my fuel tank until I get my. It's a 5-gallon bucket. It's not bad. I can mount it. Just set it in the floorboard. This is it for right now. And just for testing purposes. Because yeah, I'd like to get the truck fired up and run hose water through the radiator system and flush it out, which I'm going to need to look up a couple of videos on how exactly to flush out your radiator system, because I know there's all sorts of valleys and channels and stuff, and you got to do it a certain way to make it right, to get all those impurities out of there. And then I'll have to go out and buy, do a normal radiator replacement or radiator flush replacement. Which that radiator, I don't really plan on using that radiator, so I'll need to wait a few more weeks, run up to the junkyard and find a radiator. I could buy a new one or maybe a used one off a marketplace, but the cheapest place I'd probably just be the junkyard. But getting one of those and then having it not fail on you sometimes can be tricky. The radiator's tiny. It'll be okay for right now, so maybe I will just leave it. If it works, it works. I got a temp sensor hooked up, so if it works, if it's not overheating, I guess I'll leave it alone. But I won't know, because this has been a farm truck. It's just driven around the farm, little here, little there. I don't think it ever even got hot. I mean, it probably did, but for my analogy right now, it was just driving back and forth on a farm at very low speeds and then turned off. Now, I'm going to be driving back and forth to work. Is it going to overheat then? I fucking hope not. But I don't know. Just because it's a small radiator doesn't mean it's not doing its job. I thought about getting electric fans hooked up to it also. And then I can get rid of my big fan. But it's a clutch fan. So I wonder. Sorry, it's loud as fuck. It is loud as fuck. I'm actually up to speed now. Let me just roll up a couple of windows. There we go. It's going to get hot in here. I'm going to have to take off all my clothes. Yeah, I mean, if the radiator is going to perform, might as well let the radiator perform. It doesn't leak. So might as well just use it while I got it. Look, there's a car on the side of the road. If I had my truck up and running, I'd pull over and help you out. But I don't. Yeah, so I don't know. But I'm getting pretty close to my house. So I think I'm going to go ahead and end this. Keep all 18 down. And I'll talk to y'all later. Bye-bye. Unlock, bitch. There we go.